Hey everyone, I'm Ross Tree11, and this is another Sprague Spotlight interview. Today I'm joined by...
My name's Kolbin Bertilson, branch manager for the Colorado Denver location, and happy to join you, Ross. Thank you.
Thanks, Kolbin. So where is the Denver office? Denver's a huge area. Where's the office located? What areas do you guys cover?
We're gonna change our logo because there's this misconception that there's corn and fields and it's somewhere in the Midwest. So Alfie and I are on a mission to prove that Denver is in the Rockies. We could have horses, Rocky Mountain sheep, and any kind of fun logo. So that's our mission. We're in the Rocky Mountains. Denver serves our Colorado territory. We're up and down the I-25 corridor in most of the metropolitan areas. Really focused on delivering to the communities in those areas, and we are expanding kind of out east into the Midwest to make Ross happy in our push out there into the farmlands. And yeah, it's a very unique area. We are the furthest east that Sprague goes outside of Subd and Copasan network. So we're proud to be the frontier of Sprague out here.
Yeah, absolutely, the frontier. Well, when you land at that airport, it does feel much closer to the frontier than the Rocky Mountains. My first reaction, and many others, has always been, where are the mountains when you land? But then you see them and everything is sort of easier again. So Kolbin, how did you get into pest control?
Yeah, so I had a really fun start into my journey. I was going to be an environmental philanthropist, and I joined Good Earth in Oregon, Corvallis, Oregon. Through the interview, realized this is a pest control job. Yeah, I'd give it a try. So I started with Rich Kessaker at Good Earth, had a really good first year, moved back to Colorado, and he actually got me started with EnviroPest. Little did I know, less than a year later, Sprague Pest Solutions would come in and make an acquisition in order to retire the other Richard and Linda, who wanted to retire and divest from part of their portfolio. So I was lucky enough to meet Mr. Miller, Mark, Ross, yourself, and a little less than a year after moving here to Colorado, started working for Sprague in a residential, commercial, and route manager, essentially. I guess it was residential and then commercial.
And I think we did wildlife, and
we did some stuff out here that we don't typically invest our time and efforts into today, and it was a good learning experience.
So going through or being an employee at a company that was acquired, what we're going through your head?
Lots and lots of things. So I had a very unique announcement because I was not part of the original acquisition plan. So to be honest, my first couple of weeks after hearing the news is like, life goes on. Wasn't part of that. And 2 weeks later, Jeff Miller called me and he said, hey, how would you like to come work for Sprague? We're going to take over the Boulder area. So it was a big surprise. And at first you have all the thoughts of like, wow, what's this company going to be like? What's my job going to be like? And I would say that my fears were put to ease. Meeting with Mr. Miller in that first interview, it was, do you want to come work for Sprague? And I really expected like, hey, you're going to come work for us, and here's what you're going to do. And I think that really set the foundation for the rest of my career here. What do you want to do? Pardon me. And where do you want to go in your life at Sprague? And that was a really good first introduction to me.
Well, I'm glad that that we phrased it like that, because obviously people forget about the choice in the matter when two companies are merging like we did. The Boulder part of that acquisition was sort of an interesting piece, because history would have to say, what did we do? A bunch of market research, or did Gracie Tree11 just pick University of Colorado Boulder and we spend a lot of time in Boulder? History will have to, the book will be written on why Boulder was suddenly included in that deal many years ago. So now, are you from the greater Denver area?
So I originally grew up in greater Wyoming, which nobody from Colorado has heard of or knows where that is on the map. We do some services up there. But no,
it's a northern suburb of the Denver office. So
definitely not the Midwest. So real horses, real cowboys. I rode it to work, rode it to school, and I eventually made my way to Colorado. It's very similar, and happy to have a home here with the great outdoors and a lot of really fun stuff. Tons more culture. So Colorado's got a lot to offer for us here.
Well, doing pest control in two different two major different regions. So Portland, Oregon, and now Denver, Colorado. What are some of the differences between what you would see in Portland and what you see in Denver?
Oh, absolutely. So it's I am hesitant to say that it's easier than a moist market. We do have a fair share of challenges that are different than what you would find on a coastal environment. So, first learning lesson, roof rats. I think everybody at Sprague has a lot of experience and knowledge in those. We're really fortunate not to have to deal with roof rats out here. And then you can flip that. We get about 10, 15 times more pressure from deer mice. So all of a sudden we've got to learn how do we protect ourselves from hantavirus and mice. So I would say pest-wise, there's just a different capacity for the state to support the amount of insects that we get. Jeff Weir loves to come out here and see miller moths, the army cutworm. And he was just telling Dr. Richard Hausman the other day how amazing it was for him to say, what are miller moths? So we do have some unique species in this area of the Rocky Mountains that give us our own challenges. And other than that, it's the people. Right, every branch that I visit has a unique culture, and we definitely, you mentioned Boulder, has a very Oregon-esque, Portland, Eugene feel to it on what they expect from us. But you can drive an hour here and hit an area where they want the sky to light up with pesticides. We don't do it, and we still solve their pest problems. So it's a very diverse market. It makes our job super fun in meeting the demands of the clients for what we deliver.
I remember the first time I saw the miller moths just going all over a light and when it was dark, and I looked at it, and I was meeting actually Bill Walker super early in the morning. He looks at it and goes, "They go away," and he walked in the building, and I'm like, I've never seen anything like the explosion of miller moths. It was very funny. Like he goes, "They go away," and they move on. So
they are a fun pest. I wish I could share a picture. We met with our favorite food producer that does some big coffee shops, and we got over 250 miller moths in every exterior light trap. The tray's full. 100% full. So wow. We had a really fun example showing them seasonal pressures that we get from them.
Wow. Now, I think it was maybe our first sit-down meeting in 2011, yours and mine. We talked a little bit about development, and you were thirsty for development from the beginning. What has your development path been like at Sprague?
Never dull, never boring, always more than I can handle. So I tell a lot of our newer leadership candidates, I had some people dabbling in like technical and leadership now. But probably that year, the year after, I did technical, I did the leadership development, and there was a third in there. I was pretty much overwhelmed with development. So, keep it to 1 to 2 calls a week, you're golden. The fact is, though, if you want more, it's out there. And so my development path has never been lack or void of anything. And Ross, our history here. If I'm not in the place where I can take on extra projects, it's usually because I have some extra projects. They might not be a book or a course, but say an acquisition or a new business model. So bar none, it's been fun.
And instrumental, you've been on the other side of the development as well as the teacher side of it as well.
Yeah, it was really fun working with Ashley Roden way back when we were both new and green, and helped develop the Intro to IPM program. So yeah, I think looking at the company, our capacity to say, hey, we've got some good programs, but how can we make it Sprague and live up to the mission and values? We've got at least 5 or 6 programs that we've developed in-house now and roll out to market. And people are interested in that, even outside of Sprague.
So if you could switch jobs with anyone at Sprague, for a day, a week, a month, whatever you'd like to, whatever timeline you'd like, who would you switch with? What would you do?
It's a bait and trap question, and Jared will be listening to this later. So, there are a ton. There is, always an intense desire for me, the ability to go out there and solve a hard problem for the clients that nobody else can solve. That's always resonated. To be honest, I could do that in sales or technical and totally get my needs met. I look at the sales world, and I tell TJ, my sales rep, this all the time. I probably couldn't make 50 or 60 calls a week. Those guys have the most immense capacity for dedication ever. But going in with a sales rep and saying, hey, this is how we're going to solve this problem, I'm happy as a clam. So that's absolutely a dream of mine, is to get in there and close those hard accounts where somebody else couldn't solve a problem. And I could just as easily go in as a technical capacity, just as a reference, and say, hey, we've got at least 100 different ideas for you to try out here. I think you should work with us and see how this solution works for you.
I like that too. I like having somebody who can go with me on those meetings to bring that expertise. And I like that TJ and all the other great sales reps at Sprague can face that ocean of rejection of 50 or 60 cold calls and still feel good about the day. I know when I first started, hearing no made me feel bad. Like I would, that building up that emotional reserve, it's pretty tough.
Absolutely.
What would be some of the advice you'd have for people who are thinking about joining Sprague?
Yeah, I think joining Sprague takes there's a phrase that we have in all loving this. It takes a good dose of crazy to work at Sprague, because you have to be crazy passionate about what we're delivering. You've got to believe that if you're out there and you're checking 100 to 300 bait stations at the end of the day, you got to love it. So 2 days ago, I got back out in the field to help some route work. Didn't read the notes, and I saw 21 buildings. And the new hire and I, we went out there and we're checking 4 bait stations here. It was the whole city block. About 6 o'clock, I read the notes and I was thinking, this is crazy work. It was 4 or 5 buildings a month. It was a quarterly rotation. And so you could look back at that and say, man, what did I do? Or I could choose to look back at that and say, you know what? The next tech is going to come in here. He's got perfect stickers. The bait's changed out. And we did a lot of good stuff for that client and added value. So you got to have that dose of crazy that you walk out of every day believing, I'm doing something for my community. I'm doing something for my peers. And if you can believe that, everything else goes away, because we are highly trained, highly dedicated, highly professional people out there. And so to do that, you got to have the crazy to learn enough, and also walk away thinking, I'm going to put in the passion, the sweat, blood, and tears to get this work done. I'm going to develop myself to match what we're out there promising our clients. So if you can do that, Sprague's going to provide you the great home and the resources that it takes to get there. So embrace that and go learn.
Well, how do you balance that all-in mentality that you bring and your home life?
Yeah, what I've learned in the 10 years, and yeah, I hear this every year. So in the 10 years I've been doing this, people will ask me, like, you're still here? And what are you doing? And why do you like it? And so it comes up more often than not. And I think one of the things that I'm really challenging myself with this year is you can't do it alone. So anybody in a leadership capacity, whatever position you're in, that wants to push other people, that's great. You got to look within. What can I change in myself to get that person to be in a communion with me? And so really that's, I think the best thing that you can do is, what can I do with my peers? You can't do it alone. It takes a village to solve the type of problems that Sprague offers. Sure, 80-90% of it you can knock out. When you're willing to bring somebody else in to help you solve that problem, I've got at least 50-60 stories where somebody else helped me see it differently, and then the client's problem was solved. That gets me through a day a lot easier.
Well, isn't that old phrase, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Something along those lines.
Amen. Yes, sir.
So what's on the next 10 years list for you?
Oh gosh, we're bar none, this powerhouse region. So we got to ditch the Tigers. I'll put that out there for Jared. It's a great region. But I really do believe, when I look at Colorado, the millions of dollars that our competitors are underserving other clients out here, the growth of this market, and the team that we've built, what I've seen the Colorado team do in the last 2 to 3 years and get to where they are today, I just look out there and I'm like, wow, how many more people need what this team is able to deliver? And so we absolutely are planning every day, every minute, and every hour. What does it take to get to a second, a third, maybe even a fourth branch? What does it take to get 4 salespeople out here? So that's always been my passion. If I can catapult other people to have a successful career here, it's an absolute dream of mine. And I think the company, when we look at that, we're going to get there. And it's the last thing, Alfie's working to buy us a regional center here in Denver. So within a couple of months, we'll own and be building. And by the end of next year, we'll have a place that can support the capacity to really grow our ability to serve clients here in Colorado and beyond.
Absolutely. Well, we're investing in the marketplace on purpose and investing in your team. Thanks for joining me today, Kolbin. I'm really excited to have you join us on the Spotlight series. This has been fun.
My pleasure, Ross. Thanks for your time today.